What's up, guys? Hey, Jared Beckstrand here, Doctor of Physical Therapy, ToneAndTitan.com, and today we're talking all about the rotator cuff and specifically what it is, why it's important, and then I want to share with you guys about 5 of my favorite exercises to keep yours healthy, strong, and pain-free. So let's get into it right now. All right, you guys, hey, thank you so much for joining me today here on Tone and Titan. I'm excited to be able to share what I know with you, hopefully help your shoulder out, hopefully help you out of some pain that you might be experiencing, or to just keep your shoulder healthy and strong. That's what we're all about. If you guys do like this video, do me a huge favor, hit that thumbs up button down below. Also, if you haven't done so already, please take this chance to subscribe to Tone and Titan, where you'll get a lot more videos just like this one. Okay, so let's talk rotator cuff. So first of all, what is the rotator cuff? The rotator cuff is actually a collection of 4 muscles that serve to stabilize your shoulder joint. Now that shoulder joint, it's a ball and socket joint. Here's the socket, here's the ball. It's actually the most mobile joint in the body. We have the greatest range of motion available in 3 different planes of movement in our shoulder joint. It's a very mobile joint, but then at the same time it needs to be a very stable joint. That's where that rotator cuff comes in. So again, what you're looking at here, this is my right shoulder blade. Looks just like that with the humerus, the arm bone hanging down right here. You've got 4 muscles that come off of your shoulder blade. 3 of them come from the back, 1 of them comes from the front, and then you can see that they kind of wrap around the head of that humerus to form a cuff around it. Okay, so now why is that important? In order for the shoulder to function properly, that socket, or excuse me, that ball of the humerus needs to fit squarely into the socket of the shoulder blade. It needs to be seated in the right location, and it needs to stay in that right location throughout movement as we're going through this motion. If it doesn't, that's what can lead to some of the problems that we might experience and some of the pain that you might be experiencing. A lot of the times in my experience, if you get pain kind of reaching up and overhead or just with certain shoulder motions in general, oftentimes it's because of that rotator cuff. The rotator cuff is not strong enough to keep the ball squarely seated in your socket. Over time, that can lead to pain and pinching and inflammation, irritation, even like a rotator cuff tear, which we absolutely want to avoid. If we do the right exercises for it, we actually can avoid that. Now, if you do have those symptoms, that pain in your shoulder, I did shoot a video, it's just last week, all about shoulder impingement. It's probably the most common cause of shoulder pain that I see. If you're interested in learning more about that, there's a link down below in the description. I'm also going to put a link right up here floating around right now. That will take you to a video that I shot all about how to treat your shoulder pain and your shoulder impingement. But for now, what I want to do is jump into these rotator cuff exercises. Just one of the best things you can do to avoid pain and even to get yourself out of pain is to strengthen the rotator cuff muscles so that they serve their proper function. So I want to show you some of my favorite rotator cuff strengthening exercises, but before I do that, I want to show you my least favorite rotator cuff exercise. So when I ask, okay, what are you doing for your rotator cuff? They'll stand there and they'll say, okay, well, I get a pair of dumbbells, I hold them in my hands, and then I internally and externally rotate, just like I'm showing you right here in this little clip. Now, here's what I hate about that, you guys. It's not a rotator cuff exercise. Gravity always acts on free weights the same way. Gravity is always going to push that straight down. And so what we need to do is we need to work against gravity with our free weights in order to make it an effective exercise. And so if I grab my weight right here, and then if I do this rotator cuff exercise in and out, you'll see that the resistance is actually straight down. It's an isometric contraction, meaning there's no motion occurring at my biceps. It takes a lot for my biceps to hold this at a 90-degree angle. Now I'm going to kick on these external rotators, so now I'm going to move through this motion, but that resistance is still straight down. In order to resist that rotator cuff motion, I need to create a different line of pull on it. I need to either use a cable or I need to do the dumbbell, this rotation, a little bit differently. Which actually leads us to the first exercise that I want to show you guys. We're going to get into some side-lying external rotation. What you'll do is you're going to lay down on your side. You'll see here I'm laying down on my left side. My right elbow is at a 90-degree angle with the weight down right in front of me. Now what I'm going to do is keep that right elbow into my side as I rotate that weight up towards the ceiling. Gravity is still pushing that weight straight down, but because I changed the direction that I'm moving, because I'm laying on my side now, all of a sudden for me to rotate up towards the ceiling is a rotation exercise against gravity. And so this is actually my first rotator cuff exercise that I want to share with you guys. Don't train your rotator cuff with a dumbbell standing up, do it laying down. So this is an external rotation exercise. Again, elbows at your side, you're going to rotate away from your body and up towards the ceiling. Keep that elbow sucked in nice and tight. What you're going to shoot for is about 10 to 15 reps, and then you're going to do that 3 times. Now, you can also train your internal rotators. So again, the motions that the rotator cuff does would be external rotation and internal rotation. We need to train both of those. External rotations may be a little bit more important, but let's not forget about the internal rotators. To train those internal rotators, the exercise, the dumbbell exercise that I like, well, let me back up. I don't really like this exercise. I prefer to train this standing with cables, just because in order to train it with a dumbbell, you actually have to lay on your shoulder. It kind of creates a little bit of some pressure, some impingement stuff in there while you're strengthening this. It's not my favorite, but if dumbbells are all you have, it's better than nothing. And so to demonstrate that, let's go ahead and you're going to lay down on your right side. Your elbow comes out in front of you just a little bit. Your elbow is bent to a 90-degree angle while you grab that free weight. Now what you're going to do is keep your elbow bent as you pull that free weight up towards the ceiling. Up nice and slow and then down nice and slow. Again, not my favorite because you're laying on your shoulder, but it's a resisted motion against that internal rotation range. We're going up and we're going against gravity while we do it, and it becomes an effective way to train your internal rotators. So external rotators and internal rotators, those are 2 of my favorite dumbbell exercises to hit those. So my favorite way to train the rotator cuff muscles are actually with these 3 exercises with your bands or with your cables that I want to show you right now. Now in the gym, you can use a cable machine to set this up. I'm here at home. We actually have these resistance bands at home. Probably one of my favorite home pieces of equipment just because of all the different exercises and all the different lines of pull that you can create with them. What I'm going to do is I'll leave a link down below in the description to this video. You can go there to check out the resistance bands that I have, maybe pick up a pair of your own. You won't regret it. I love these exercises. And so what we're going to do is some band or some cable, internal and external rotation, and then I want to show you an extension exercise that I really like also. Now, to demonstrate that, let me show you what it's not first. And so a lot of times when I see people doing this, there's 2 mistakes that I see most often. People will set up okay, but then what they do is they let their elbow kind of migrate out to the side in this direction and then back down. And so what this is, we're not rotating the shoulder joint. This motion is called abduction. We're abducting the shoulder joint. We're working on the deltoid muscle, not the rotator cuff. And so what you need to do is keep your elbow tucked right into your side. Now, oftentimes what I'll see, you can actually grab a towel to help you out with that and tuck that towel into your side. And so now as we rotate around that towel, that's a little bit better. The common error that I see with a towel is people don't make it thick enough. Naturally, your shoulder joint isn't parallel to the floor. It's actually angled up about 15 or 20 degrees. And so that being said, this position tucked right into my side isn't very natural for my shoulder. You'll see that I can only rotate to about 45, maybe 50 degrees there. I should be able to take that through about 80 to 90 degrees of rotation. So what I'm going to do, let that stray from my side a little bit, and now as I rotate, you'll see that I can rotate even a lot further with it. So don't be so concerned about pinning it down to your side. What I tell people is you need to be more concerned about how that resistance is traveling. Start with the band right here at your belly button, and then when you finish, I want you to finish with your hand higher than your belly button. Okay, so we start low and we finish high. And what we're doing there is we're ensuring that, again, that about 15 degrees of rotation is maintained as we get out to the side. And so if your towel is too little, it kind of pins your elbow into your side. That's not a bad thing, but we can make it better if we get the towel and maybe kind of ball it up a little bit fatter. You'll see that that's about 3 or 4 inches now. All of a sudden that becomes a lot more natural for me to rotate away from it. And so that's just a quick note on that towel. The other common error that I see is you start right in here at your side, and then as you pull it out, you want to get it all the way out there, and so you'll see what I did. I just straightened my elbow out. And so again, don't be so concerned about how far it's moving as you are about the quality of the motion. So to show you how to do it correctly, good posture, okay, so shoulders back, head high, chest high. You're going to go, that band is right across, it's just right above my belly button. My elbow's bent to a 90 degree, and then as I pull against that resistance, again, elbow can stray a little bit as long as that hand finishes higher. And so it looks just like this right here. What you'll do is 10 repetitions, and you'll do that 3 sets. I want you to feel that right in the back, right in these little muscles right up here in the back of your shoulder. So that's your exercise number 1. Exercise number 2 would be an extension with external rotation. So to set that up, I'm now going to face my anchor. I get into this position, elbows straight, shoulders at about, shoulder flexes up to about shoulder height. And then what you're going to do is just pull kind of straight back and behind you. Now, the key to this that I like to kick on that rotator cuff, you'll see here I've got thumbs up. Down here at the bottom, I've got thumbs out, meaning I've rotated my thumb towards you. Ideally, what I'd even shoot for, so thumbs up here, thumb even pointed back behind me there. What that's doing is that's adding a rotation component to the extension. It just kicks those rotator cuff muscles on a little bit more as you go through that resisted extension and external rotation. Again, that's going to work those muscles right in the back of your shoulder. Finally, third exercise, again, we can't forget about the internal rotators. Now, I always tell people I'm twice as worried about the external rotators as I am about the internal rotators. It's typically those external rotators, these little guys in the back of your shoulder right here, that are weak, and those are the ones that often cause the pain and the dysfunction. Your internal rotators, they're actually assisted by this big pec muscle that kind of assists in this internal rotation motion. Therefore, it's typically not as weak as the external rotators. So we don't need to train it as hard, but then at the same time, I don't want to neglect it. So to train those internal rotators, what we're going to do, now all of a sudden it's in my left hand, so my left elbow's at a 90-degree angle, tucked in right to my side. Again, don't worry about sticking it right into your side. Worry about the form as you're going through the motion. Started with my hand high here, and then as I pull across, I'm going to finish with my hand lower here. So high here, lower here, really good posture while you do this. I don't want you to round forward, and really if you're pulling with that pec muscle, that has a tendency to take over. Keep your chest high, keep your shoulders back, keep that elbow at a 90, keep your hand high on the outside, all the way to low on the inside, and then right back out. What I typically tell people to shoot for is 3 sets of 10 to 12 of each one of those exercises in order to maximize strength and function in that rotator cuff. Okay, you guys, I think that's everything. So again, shared with you about 5 of my favorite exercises, 2 with dumbbells, 3 with bands, to strengthen your rotator cuff. Again, it's imperative that those rotator cuff muscles are strong and healthy to keep your shoulder pain-free and functional. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button down below. Also, if you haven't done so already, take this chance to subscribe to Tone and Tighten so you never miss tips like this from me. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those down below. I'll get to those just as soon as I can. If you know anybody with shoulder pain, hit that share button down below also, and then you can post it to your social media or their social media, help to get the word spread. And so that's it for me, you guys. Thanks so much for joining me here on Tone and Tighten, and we'll see you next time.